Welcome to CVUSD Focus on Your Future workshop, Becoming an Air Force Officer, Air Force ROTC, and U.S. Air Force Academy. My name is Rachel Kelter, and I'm the counselor at Century Academy. This session is being recorded and will be available after the event. Closed caption is available. Questions should be submitted through the chat and will be covered at the end of the presentation. I would like to introduce Second Lieutenant Ellie Beaulieu and Second Lieutenant Josiah Anderson, who are going to help us with the presentation tonight. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Second Lieutenant Ellie Beaulieu. I am based out of the Encino area helping with academy applications for the next year. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Air Force Academy, and if you're interested in applying, how you can do so. Can I get a thumbs up to my screen is shared? Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of basic information first. So the Air Force Academy is in Colorado Springs. It's a military academy. So you are going to have regular school for 4 years. You're going to get a bachelor's degree, but also you're going to have athletic and military training kind of mixed in with your normal curriculum. So while most colleges, you'll just focus on academics for those 4 years, military academies are going to focus on those three kind of pillars, which is really interesting, and it's going to be more work, but it's also super rewarding and fun. So the first pillar is obviously you're going to choose to any school, but we have academics. So we have a lot of majors to choose from. And you don't just have to be a STEM major. That's something I hear a lot. People think they have to just study airplanes the whole time they're at the Air Force Academy. That is not true. I was a history major. There's a lot of humanities majors. And something really interesting is even though you have your specific academic major, you're going to spend a lot of time actually taking core credits through core classes. So you're going to take a lot of STEM focus, but also some literature and history classes. And everyone's going to take those regardless of what major they are. So you get a really well-rounded education. Similar way as kind of how you do in high school, where you're taking a lot of classes. You might not be really good at some, you might be really good at others, but you do get more selection in what classes you take because you get to pick your major, which is your other half of your credit hours. So yeah, really interesting. The academics are challenging, but the faculty to student ratio is 8:1. So I've never had a class when I was there. I never had a class that had more than 20 people in it, which is really unique because a lot of colleges you have like 300-400 people in some lectures, which is really overwhelming. So it's a lot easier to learn because you're in that small class setting. You have the academic pillar at the academy as well, or sorry, the athletic pillar. So if you're not a recruited Division I athlete, you can walk on to the D1 teams, which is really cool. We have 27 Division I sports. We also have club sports if you don't want to compete at the Division I level. We have rugby, ultimate frisbee, like I can't even list all of them because there's so many, but every sport you can imagine, there's a club sport version of it. And then if you are not athletically inclined at all and want to do squadron intramurals, super fun. It's kind of like PE class you have in high school, but you're playing with competitive people who are really in shape. So pretty good time. And physical fitness is going to be something you're evaluated on while you're at the academy and while you're applying. So you're going to have a physical fitness test every semester while you're there. It's going to consist of pull-ups, standing long jump, a run, push-ups, and sit-ups. And there's a really similar test you also have to do when you're trying to get into the Air Force Academy to evaluate your physical fitness. But yeah, and then you have military training, obviously, because you're a military academy. A lot of our military training is aviation focused. So you get the opportunity to fly gliders if you want to, or jump out of a plane by yourself 5 times, only program in the country that does that. It's pretty cool. So there's a lot of RPA, space-based research, things like that, where you're doing military training, but it's in really cool up and coming fields. So yeah, and then you also have military training that looks more military. So you have basic training, which you'll go through before you actually enter as a freshman. And then also like survival training, things like that. So pretty interesting military wise. I didn't have any military background before going, and it's all very manageable, but definitely different for typical college. Here's some pictures, what my life looked like while I was out there. You have some slides of me being a military girl, marching in parades, this graduation at the top. We also have pictures where I'm just hanging out with my friends, because even though you go to a military college, it is really rigorous. You make amazing friendships, and you also get to do really fun stuff with really fun people on the weekends. And part of the reason you get to do that is because they actually give you a stipend while you're there. So you don't have to worry about money. I got to go out with my friends, snowboard on the weekends, got to hike a bunch of mountains. It was a really amazing experience, and it helped me grow in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's just a bunch of pictures. And then once you graduate, this is where the Air Force officer part comes in. You will receive your bachelor's degree and a commission into the Air Force or the Space Force. So Air Force Academy has really good stats if you want to fly. That's kind of why the Air Force Academy was made a while ago, is to produce pilots. Not everyone has to go fly, but 50% of our graduating class this past year went to pilot training. So that is one of the big focuses, is aviation. But as you can see, there's a lot of other careers. We got, I mean, anything you can find in the civilian world, there's probably going to be a similar job. So public affairs, like journalism, but in the Air Force. So you could serve in any of these roles, and you get to put in preferences to determine what role you want to serve in. And then same thing, Space Force side, there's quite a few jobs to pick from. I'm going to be a space intelligence officer. Haven't gotten training yet, probably going to go like 10 months. So I'm really excited about that. So the application is going to be a lot different than your typical college application. You're basically going to have to do a college application in a separate portal. It's not on Common App or anything. It's a separate portal. And then you also have to take a physical fitness test, which I mentioned earlier. You're going to have to be medical qualified. You have to go to a review board for that. It's like a physical you get for school, but a little more intense. And then you have to have character and leadership. So you have to be leading in your community, a lot of volunteer and run for leadership roles in whatever clubs you're doing. That helps a lot. And then you also have to secure nominations from your congressman, senator, vice president. Those are the three main nominating sources. But you have to apply to these because you can't get accepted unless you have a nomination. So that's another hoop to jump through. And I know this sounds like a lot, and it's because they want to only admit people who are gonna try hard and be able to make it through their 4 years there. So they're trying to weed people out that are like, oh, this application's so long. But if you get the application done and you get admitted, you're looking at some crazy benefits. I mean, the fact that you're gonna graduate with your bachelor's degree with no student loans is amazing, but they actually pay for your room and board too. Guaranteed career, you saw the careers before, there's really interesting stuff in there. And then also your medical and dental is covered, and you get a monthly pay. So I didn't have to worry about anything. They actually have a dining hall where all the food's free. You don't have to worry about anything while you're there. And on the weekends, you can use that extra cash they give you in your monthly stipend to go do fun things and go buy food and just have a good time with your friends, which I thought that was really amazing because you're not focusing on your typical college stressors like money and trying to work a second job and time management in that way. Instead, you're focusing on developing yourself and the people around you. This is my information. Lieutenant Anderson's information is also on this QR code if you want to scan it. We can also put this back up at the end, but we are going to throw it over to Lieutenant Anderson to talk about ROTC, and then we'll take questions afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellie. I'm going to try to screen share as well. Give me a sec. Let me go back. All right, perfect.
You're on mute, actually.
Work. Let me see. Sometimes when it's trying to share computer audio, it mutes myself. Let me see. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. My name is Second Lieutenant Josiah Anderson. I am the Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps recruiter. So it's an Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps. I don't know if any of you guys have friends in JROTC in high school. It's a similar program, but the college version. So the Air Force Academy, Air Force Reserve Officer Training, they're two different commissioning sources where you are going to commission as a second lieutenant into the Air Force or Space Force after you graduate. The difference is Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps isn't done at any one particular school. It can be done at almost any college across the country. So Before I get into more details about the program itself, this is just a little bit about me. I was born here in Topanga, California, where I am right now, actually. I went to Pepperdine University, so I majored in business administration. ROTC, they don't have ROTC at Pepperdine, so I would go once a week to Loyola Marymount, which is down by the airport here, LAX. And my AFC or Air Force specialty code is going to be pilot, so that's the job I was selected for. And then, of course, there's some of my hobbies, a picture of my family. Yeah, a little bit about me. So the Air Force mission, to fly, fight, and win air power anytime, anywhere, right? Our key components are, going to be that flying mission. That being said, less than 5% of the Air Force are actually pilots or in airframes. The vast majority of Air Force positions are supporting the flying mission in some way from the ground. So that's everything from force support officers, supporting base operations, airfield officers, managing the flight line and everything going on there, security forces, special forces. So like Lieutenant Bull, you said, any career you can find or interest on the civilian side, you can find some sort of equivalent in the Air Force or Space Force. Now, Air Force ROTC's mission is a little bit different. It's to develop leaders of character for tomorrow's air and space forces. Our primary goal is to create officers who will be great leaders to serve both our airmen as well as our country. So what is Air Force ROTC? It's a 3 to 4 year program for students to receive military training during college. So unlike the Air Force Academy, where you're a full-time cadet serving in your classes, you're putting on your uniform every day, it's part-time. So in ROTC, you're only putting on your uniform once, maybe twice a week. Like for myself, 5 days a week, I was a regular college student at Pepperdine. I'm part of clubs, fraternities, sororities, going surfing with friends, anything like that. And then once a week, I would put on my uniform, drive down to the detachment for that training, that class, and those group workouts. The key here is you're a student first. So one of the primary things about Air Force ROTC is we're really going to emphasize you passing all your college courses wherever you go and making sure that you're putting your emphasis there. These are some of the requirements for it. You do have to be a full-time college student. You also do have to enroll in the AS, which is Aerospace Studies and Leadership Laboratory classes. That's the training I was talking about that I would do once a week. It's those two components. And then, of course, the physical training as well. You have to have a good attitude and ability to adapt. You do have to want to be there in ROTC. Just like the Air Force Academy, there are parts that do get maybe a little more difficult. And if you're not putting in the effort, if you're not actually training, applying yourself, then it won't quite be a great fit for you. Contracting, so that means you're accepting a scholarship or your junior year, either or. You have to pass the fitness assessment. You have to pass the Air Force Officer Qualifying Test. This is a test you would also take at the Academy, but basically it's similar to an SAT or ACT, just testing your aptitude and qualifying you for different jobs. And then DODMER, Department of Defense Medical Examination Review Board. That's the same medical exam that Lieutenant Bull, you mentioned earlier. The academic requirements are pretty lax. So all you have to do is maintain a 2.0 GPA to stay in the program. But if you are on scholarship or you want to compete for a scholarship, you do have to have at least a 2.5. This is the weekly commitment leadership laboratory. So that's going to be your marching, your problem solving with a team, mission scenarios, things like that. That's about 2 hours a week. Aerospace studies, so that's going to be 1 hour your freshman and sophomore years, and then 3 hours your junior and senior years. You're learning all about leadership, strategy, global politics, as well as Air Force history, things like that in a classroom environment. Physical training, so you'll have 2 to 3 workouts a week in a group setting, which is super fun. You do big group calisthenics, you play sports against each other, things like that. And then there's also a bunch of extra opportunities that you can volunteer for. I'll get into that a little more in the next couple slides. This is what the standard 4-year progression will look like for your 4 years in college. The first 2 years, you're in the General Military Course, or GMC. This is where you're in that more followership role. You're learning about the foundations of the Air Force, aerospace studies. You're trying to prepare for the field training. Field training is going to come between your sophomore and junior year. That's a 2-week program that I'll talk about on the next slide. Then once you come back from that field training, you're now going to be in the Professional Officer Course, or POC. These 2 years, you're now actually the ones running the program. So you're the ones evaluating the underclassmen, planning the training, working in the cadet wing to lead almost everything under the guidance of some Air Force officers. Then, of course, afterwards, you're going to graduate. So like this last May, I had my graduation at Pepperdine, cap and gown, the whole 9 yards. And then a couple weeks later, I had my commissioning, which is where I pin on my second lieutenant ranks. This is field training. So it's 2 weeks at Maxwell Air Force Base. Basically, they're just going to be evaluating you on everything you've learned your first 2 years in the program. And a really cool thing about it is you actually get put in a flight with other cadets from all over the country. So it's a really great way to make a lot of cool friends. These are some of the other extra opportunities that are open to you as an ROTC cadet. So honor guard is you're doing, like I did the flag ceremony in Angel Stadium. Private pilot's license opportunities. I had the opportunity to get about 40 hours paid for by the Air Force in a Cessna, so that was cool. Base visits, you can study abroad, and you can see the other ones there, different programs you can apply for during the summer. Lastly, I'm just going to talk about the scholarship programs we have. There's 2 options for ROTC. A common misconception that everyone in ROTC is on scholarship, which isn't true. You can either be on the high school scholarship program, which is something you apply for your senior year of high school, or an in-college scholarship. So every semester, the detachment commander awards scholarships to cadets who are performing well. High school scholarship program. This is open now for any high school seniors or high school juniors who are graduating a year early. Here's the minimum requirements to apply. It's an online application. A lot of the same components that they're going to be looking for in the academy application is just a lot less in depth, a little more straightforward. You have to fill out your, the online portion where they're going to ask for your test scores, your GPA, things like that. The fitness assessment. So that's just going to be the Air Force fitness assessment, 1 minute of push-ups, 1 minute of sit-ups, 1.5 mile run. And then lastly, if they like what they see there, they're going to call you in for an interview. You can just find that at airforcerotc.com. For all of the high school scholarship programs, they're all going to be full tuition and fees at any public or private university across the country, as well as $900 a year for books, as well as a monthly stipend. So you get paid every month, $300 your freshman year, working up to $500 your senior year, just because you're on scholarship. So really good opportunity. I used it to pay for Pepperdine. It was like $65,000 a year that they paid for, which was really great. Plus on top of just paying me every month. In college scholarship, they can either be those type 1s, which is the full tuition fees, or type 2, which is basically like full public school tuition or up to $18,000 per towards private schools. These are some of the technical majors they're looking for. If you're majoring in any of these things, plus there's like 40 other technical majors, anything in the STEM world, really, you're going to have priority for the scholarships. They are looking for certain numbers of these different majors to give scholarships to. So if you are interested in anything in the STEM world, you do have a higher chance of getting a scholarship. But also foreign language. These are the critical languages that the Air Force is looking for right now. So if you're majoring in any of these languages, you also have a higher chance of getting a scholarship. I myself majored in business, wasn't critical, wasn't a foreign language major, but I still got the scholarship, and that's an option as well. It's just a little, there's fewer of them. These are some of the Southern California detachments. Like I said, you don't have to go to one of these schools to be an ROTC. You just have to be within commuting distance once or twice a week. So I went to Pepperdine. And that's it for ROTC. I'll pull this down. And yeah, if you guys have any questions about ROTC or the Air Force Academy, we'd love to open the floor to that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to write them in the chat, and we're happy to answer any questions. We'll wait and see if anyone has anything that they'd like to ask, but thank you so much for sharing. That was really interesting, learning about the Academy and then learning about the ROTC opportunities as well. So sounds like great opportunities for a lot of students.
Yeah, absolutely. And ma'am, is it mostly seniors right now?
It could be juniors and sophomores as well. So I'm not sure exactly what age students we have. It's advertised to everyone in the district.
Okay, that's awesome. So for seniors, the applications for both of these are already rolling. Definitely reach out to one of us. I can put our contact info, actually the link to it in the chat right now. But oh, okay, we had one. how can we get more information to make decisions on the future in the Air Force? You mean like between the two programs, I'm guessing? So I think that Lieutenant Anderson and I both tell everyone to apply for both. If you're thinking, I want to be an officer in the Air Force, your best chance is going to be if you put your name in for every opportunity. So definitely going for ROTC and the Academy, you can apply for both your senior year. Requirements for USAFA, can I see that again? Yes, Brian Lee, I will put that up. Give me 1 second.
Real quick, Benjamin and Brian, if you just want more information about what life looks like in the Air Force, you know, what that officership will look like, and after you graduate college, what that 4 years for ROTC or that 5 years for the Academy after you graduate will look like, you can go on airforce.com. Is a great resource. It will highlight all the different jobs, what those jobs look like. If you have any questions about a particular job, you can also reach out to us. We'd love to get you more information or get you in contact with someone in that current role. But there's a lot of resources online just to, you know, what does it look like to be an officer, even on YouTube. And so, yeah, just do a little bit of research and you can find a lot of that info.
Yeah, and then this should be the slide that you were talking about. And then does USAFA look at weighted or unweighted GPA? So they actually, you'll send all their transcripts to them and they have their own ways that they calculate it, just because there's so many different AP, dual enrollment. I can't even list the other acronyms, but throughout the country, there's so many different ways to take honors classes or whatever. So you send them your transcript and they calculate their own version of a weighted GPA. So it might not be exactly what you think it is, because it could vary based on how your school does it, but they kind of go through and make sure all those data points look right.
Any other questions? We just have a couple more minutes. If not, I just want to thank you again for presenting for us and thank all the students that joined us. This is being recorded, so it should be available in the district in a few weeks for everybody else. So
yeah, thank you for having us. Also, if you are a junior right now and you want to reach out to us, there's a summer program where you can go between your junior and your senior year for a week to the Air Force Academy and kind of experience life and what it's like to be a cadet, to see if it's for you. So I recommend doing that. I will drop our info right now in here. And then, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for having us.
all right, I'm going to go ahead and end our recording. I'll do that now.